Hey everyone, welcome. I am here today with Julie Hudson.
Hello.
And I am so excited to be able to share this live stream with you because Julie has shared some really in-depth, what's the word I'm looking for? Some inspiring and, thought-provoking things about autism that I really wanted you guys to hear. And I came into this whole understanding back in my days when I was a pediatric occupational therapist, and I work with many children with autism. And it started me thinking about, wow, these beings are so special. They really have something to teach us. And I wasn't in the whole spiritual thing back then, but working with those kids really had me see that there was something deeper than just this diagnosis of autism or Asperger's or, sensory integration dysfunction, whatever the diagnosis happened to be. I realized that there was something really powerful about these kids. And so when I started talking with Julie about this topic, I got really excited because she saw the things that I was seeing and beyond. So that's my orientation with autism, and I'll have Julie share hers.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here and discuss this further because I got my own diagnosis earlier this year, and so it suddenly became a relevant issue for me. And before that point, I had never really thought about it, but I always felt like there was definitely something different with me, and other people noticed that too. I never had an answer for what that was, and that was a little frustrating. But yeah, so that was my initial experience, which was not that long ago.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh.
Yeah, pretty fresh. But I've felt this energetic urge to seek a doctor that could address whatever I was going through and have an answer, and then to also speak out about ways that could help other people. So
did you have a sense or an idea that, hey, this might be autism? Or were you just like, I don't know what it is, but this doctor's going to give me some information?
Back a couple of years ago, I had looked online trying to find any kind of social condition that I could read about that might address what I was experiencing, but I didn't know that autism could be one of those things. I thought, well, maybe I'm just extremely introverted or just really anxious in some situations. Maybe it has something to do with things in the past, traumas or whatever. And so all these possibilities came up, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so that's when I finally listened to that urge to go, talk to someone who has experience in these things. And
beautiful.
When I was looking up all the possibilities for social conditions, autism was on that list. And once I started reading other people's blogs who have the diagnosis, I realized, whoa, that sounds really familiar. How did they get inside my head, basically? So,
are you willing to share with us some of the things that you experience in your daily life? Some of these symptoms?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So it's really easy to get overwhelmed with multiple things coming at you. So autism is just basically a neurological condition where the brain's wiring is slightly different. That means my meter for having stress come in, it fills up a lot faster.
Easily overwhelmed?
Easily overwhelmed. Okay. So when I've had jobs where it's multitasking or wearing too many hats, and then on top of that things are cluttered, it all adds up. Yeah. And I'm not able to deal with things as well. Females with this condition tend to mask their symptoms. So what that does is it makes us appear normal on the first impression, but then people expect that normal behavior time and time again, but it's not sustainable long term.
So it's something you can do for a short amount of time, and then your nervous system just can't keep it together anymore?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like if I go to a party where there's really loud music, lots of people, and I don't even know where I fit in or who to talk to, and after about 20 minutes, my brain starts to shut off, and my face actually kind of looks blank.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like if you see an animal go into shock because their brain is kind of shutting down. I feel like that's the same thing, a similar thing that happens when I get overwhelmed. And it's very interesting because then people think, oh, she's inauthentic, she's really, really shy, or she's stuck up.
She's a snob, she's aloof.
She's lazy, like she doesn't like us, she doesn't want to be in our group. And so you've got all these expectations because you do come across as normal at first, and then it's like, oh, what do I do now? I can't sustain this.
And plus you're beautiful, and your presence, your energy is engaging.
Thank you.
I want to hang out with you because your energy is very beautiful.
Thank you.
And so I can totally understand how people would put those projections on you. Oh, she's aloof, she's a snob because she's not interacting with us. I've gotten that too, by the way.
And that's the thing, like everything we're going to talk about today, it include everybody because we all have different
spectrum.
And we have differing levels of what we can take. So one person can stay at that party for 3 hours and have a great time and still have energy to go talk to someone in depth.
It'll even energize them.
Yeah, exactly. Extroverts get energized by social interaction, and introverts, they actually get drained from it. So they need more alone time.
Do you think all people with the autism diagnosis are introverts?
I would think that, absolutely. I can only speak for myself, but with all the biographies I've read and all the research I've done in the past 6 months, I'm just like, that I would definitely say that. So,
interesting.
And the number one thing they say not to do with someone who's introverted is try to change them. So, I mean, I've tried.
Have more fun. Loosen up. Come dancing.
You
come
just
to the party.
You need to try harder. And it's like, and you know what? Before the diagnosis, before the diagnosis, I was like, I do need to try harder. I need to fit in. And it was so confusing to not know what I needed. Like sometimes I don't know how I'm feeling about something until 2 days later. And it's like, wow. So being self-aware and practicing that can help. But it can be really confusing if you don't know this is your issue. So.
Well, what I loved about what you shared with me about your story was how validating it was to actually get the diagnosis.
Yes.
For some people, I think it's probably like they feel it's a curse maybe, but for you it was like, oh, this is so validating. This explains everything.
It explains everything in the past. Especially with relationships. Your partner is the person you live with, who knows you the deepest. And if they're telling you you're coming across inauthentic, I mean, so to get the validation, I cried tears of relief because I was like, wow, I'm not being inauthentic. There's a disconnect in the brain's wiring. That's the body. It has nothing to do with what I am as a spiritual being. It was so freeing. And I was like, you know what? It's not just a label. Like, I can separate myself from the labels, any label the body has, right? If you have a broken leg, you're not going to walk around without a cast. You're going to honor what you need, right? You need a cast, you need some assistance.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yes. So what the body needs, honor that. Like, let it be what it is and give yourself the alone time. Give yourself the, whatever calms you down when you're feeling the anxiety. And once you do that, once you allow yourself to bask in what makes you calm and know that you're worth that, your confidence, your self-worth and confidence goes through the roof. And suddenly you're not an easy target anymore. Suddenly you can express boundaries and emotions that before you couldn't. That's what I've experienced in the past few months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we teach people how to treat us. And that's something that some people inherently know that. I had to learn that.
Most people don't know that.
Well, then good.
I think most people have to figure that out.
All right, well, good.
And
so
practice that a lot.
We're all in the same boat then. So we have to realize, like, the way we present ourselves, the confidence level we have, it makes a huge difference on what we're going to get back. It's a reflection.
People are only going to honor the boundaries we set up if we honor ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
works.
you know, I'm about to turn 37. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I realized what boundaries were and how to set them. I still had trouble expressing them and upholding them, but I was like, oh wow, I have like zero boundaries. Zero boundaries. And no assertiveness. Like, those are things that have to be learned. So I do recommend, like, if anyone out there has trouble with that, to find someone who can help you, if it's a workshop or a spiritual teacher, whatever. Like, boundaries, assertiveness, and nonviolent communication. And there are workshops for that all over the country.
Have you found, since you got the diagnosis, that you've and you felt the validation, that you have been able to set healthy boundaries and enforce them, maintain them? Say, this is who I am, this is what I need for myself.
Yes. If I'm in a situation, I'm talking with someone and it's in a calm, mature manner, I can absolutely stand up for myself and say, this is who I am, this is what I need, and, you know, this is the way it is. Before, I would shrink away and be like, you know, I didn't want any kind of confrontation. Something I notice is if someone's yelling at me or throwing a lot of negative energy my way, even if it has nothing to do with me, and it almost never does, but, you know, the yelling causes the brain to go into this confusion mode.
Yeah.
And I've seen the same thing happen with dogs. If you yell at a dog, they actually just get confused. They don't know what you mean. They're nonverbal. So they're just like, what do I do? What do I do? And that's the same thing my brain does. And so I end up having emotions come up. And so if I have someone, if I'm at a job where I'm in customer service and someone's on the phone yelling at me for something that has nothing to do with me, but I'm still taking that on sometimes. And after I hang up the phone, I can keep a facade until the phone call is over, and then I just like have to cry and just like release that, because the body has to let the emotions come through. I think,
Julie, that that's typical for a lot of us, especially those who are sensitive.
Yes.
And what I appreciate about, you know, being on the spectrum or having a diagnosis or whatever you want to call it, is that you guys kind of exemplify, you're like the sensitive of the sensitive, you know, you kind of exemplify for the rest of us, like, hey, this behavior isn't necessarily the most, you know, uplifting, or, you know, the way that we as people in society want to interact with each other.
Right.
I mean, I'm super sensitive. I don't like being yelled at, you know. I would do the same thing. You shake and cry after being yelled at. I've had that experience. Yeah. You know, I think that's normal. But what you guys are experiencing kind of takes it to another level.
It's very intense.
Yeah.
So what I've found, because through all of this, I've been integrating it with my spiritual self, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. So what I've learned is, let the body process the emotion. It's got to do it. If we repress or try to resist it, we're actually holding on to it, and it will manifest usually as an illness in the body. But just allowing it to be what it is, not taking it on, not allowing it to become our identity, it just moves through so quick. Like when an animal has been in stress, under stress, it'll have some tremors, and then it'll like jump around a little and move on. It's fine, because it let the body process without any mind getting involved.
Right.
So, yeah. So
I
just
talk about that all the time. Feel what you feel. Let it flow through. Don't deny it. Yeah, it's part of who we are as humans.
Yeah, definitely. And the same goes for thoughts. Like, we think, oh, I have this thought, it's mine. It's actually not. It's just, you know, just let it be. You don't have to like be scared of the thoughts that come up. Just watch them.
Yeah.
Like, we're just watching it all unfold. And so...
Going back to the emotion, I'm curious, do you think that people on the spectrum have, those who are lower functioning maybe, experience emotion? Because I've been around some people who don't, they seem not to process emotion in the same way as I would.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious on your thoughts about that. You're very highly functioning, you're,
Yes.
you have a job, you're in society, you're very,
Yeah. Yeah.
No, like you said, no one would even know unless you told them.
Right.
So I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so actually I did have a job once where I worked with clients with special needs, taking them into the community and also respite care in the home. A few of those clients were autistic and they needed a lot of help. Some of them were nonverbal and some of them would, hit themselves and I think they're just acting in ways that process whatever those really intense emotions are, but they're just doing whatever comes naturally. Like like I've learned,
Makes sense.
Yeah, I learned not to do things that were destructive because my parents told me like, don't do that, and I listened. But someone who doesn't have the capacity to understand what someone's communicating to them, that might go completely over their head and they don't absorb any of it because they're just so tunnel vision in their world. And that's okay. Like, just meet them where they are. And yeah, I think they definitely feel emotions. They just display it in different ways.
Right. So like hitting themselves or something like that might actually be the way that they're processing their emotions.
Yes. And one biography I read was, I don't remember who wrote it, but it was someone who was able to type. He was nonverbal, I think. And he was able to say, like, when I'm hitting my head, I'm feeling anger. I can't express it any other way. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
So
So
that answers my question. All right. What's next? What else do you want to tell us today?
So I want to address some spiritual ways to help this, because what I've experienced in the way that I've looked at it spiritually and integrated it has made a world of difference. Like, over the past few months, I've become a completely different being. Like, this has caused so much growth and evolution.
Wow.
And I thought, how can I not share that, right?
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love that you said yes to my invitation to do this.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
You're putting your face out there. I mean, some people, you're sensitive, so
Yeah.
you could very easily say, no, I don't want to be.
Yeah, and what I did was I let the mind have its own ideas about it, but I listened to what's here in the present moment, which was go do that. And whenever there's an invitation to do something, I listen.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, so yeah, spiritual how-tos. Meditation, obviously. Anxiety is like the number one thing that accompanies something like ASD. Because we don't know how to
For
act.
those who don't know, ASD, autism spectrum disorder.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So meditation can help with anxiety, obviously, and a lot of people, don't want to really sit still. A lot of us get fidgety, and so what I like to do instead is you can sit down and draw or listen to music or whatever, but the main phrase to have, like, as a mantra is just be. Like, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to do. You can be by yourself, you can heal whatever emotions come up, feel them, heal them, send it love, whatever comes up, and just be with it. There's nothing to identify you as a being. Just be here. There's only this right now. And that's the most true thing I've ever experienced.
Are there certain types of meditation that work well for people with autism? Because I know even for me, I don't like to sit and meditate. I can go on a walk and be in nature. Like, I do moving meditations.
Oh yeah. Nature time it's great because the trees and the animals and all the sounds of the birds and everything, they automatically, without even trying, they pull any negativity out of the body. It just processes so much faster and easier because you're in this natural state of just being with everything as it is. And when you look at a tree and just feel into what it is being, like it's rooted, it's grounded, it's still, and yet if a breeze comes along, it moves with the breeze, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very good metaphor for how we can be. And once we practice being this way, it actually seeps into every moment of our life. Mm-hmm. So we can maintain this calmness a lot easier when things come up unexpectedly. And that's usually a big trigger for people with autism, was unexpected change.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Have you found that having routines help you in your daily existence?
Yeah, you know, routines do help, but I'm also the type of person that doesn't want to get attached to one way. So I have routines, and yet I try to be, not too rigid as well. So a good balance is really key.
So you are high functioning. Just to be
Yes.
Just to be clear, like if you're watching this and you know someone who is not as high functioning as Julie, sometimes routines can be very helpful because they provide that safety for the nervous system. Mm-hmm. And it enables the person to be more functional because they're not having to protect their nervous system all
Exactly,
the time.
Yes. Routine protects from unexpected changes that can just kind of bubble up and blow up in ways that, like a meltdown in a public place. I've experienced that with a client, and, so it can be pretty intense.
Yeah.
But we're just there to help them through it and love them no matter what shows up. So, and I think also surrounding yourself with the type of people that are loving and non-judgmental. And, those can be few and far between, but once you step into your confidence and the present moment, those people will automatically show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just, you can't even control it. It just happens. Like, it's like a magnet, it's manifesting the right people to support you and understand you, and you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not anymore. You can just be whatever, and it's all good, So that's a good piece of advice for anyone.
Yeah, autism or not, that's a good
yes for anybody.
We all need that.
Yeah. And I also want to mention that when you're in the present moment and practicing just being, everything that's not permanent disappears. So problems, questions and answers, anything that the mind would judge as good or bad, that all kind of falls away. So you're just left with what's really here, which is truth.
Your essence.
Yep. Yeah, awareness, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes I can't even find a label for it, which is good, because it's more of an experience, we can point to it, but we can only experience it fully in silence, pretty much. That's my experience. Yeah. But, so.
Yeah, I love it. Presence is powerful. Being in the moment is powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
How do I ask this? Do you feel like you had more of a challenge with that because of the autism, or has it helped you in some way be present? Tell us about that.
I think it's helped me because looking at myself and reading the accounts of others that have this diagnosis, there's been a non-judgmental way to this type of a neurological mindset, not needing things to be like, I just kind of flow with everything, like, oh, okay, my brain needs specific instructions. If I don't have specific instructions, I'm just kind of like in a holding pattern, so I'm just like, okay, like kind of equanimous with whatever's going on. If something not good is going on, then that can be an issue, which is where the assertiveness and boundaries come in. But if it's everything is, in a nice equanimous state on its own anyway, then I can be, I don't know, and I can look at other people and not judge them for their differences because I feel so different.
And I definitely vouch for that. Hanging out with Julie, there's just no judgment. It's just, she accepts you for who you are, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's rare to find that. Max is one of those people, and you're one of those people.
And I love hanging out with Max. And you too.
It's really truly rare to find that. Most people have some underlying judgment, myself included. There's always like these little things that pop up, but I just don't ever feel that with you, and it's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you would actually attribute that to your neurological wiring?
I think so. There's this innocent purity about the way this mind works. It doesn't assume things. It just takes things at face value, and that feels really aligned with the spiritual practice of just being here.
I love that.
Yeah. So even though we might get overwhelmed sometimes easily, we're still like, we're doing our best, and we're doing our best to be here with it, and it's a beautiful way to be. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I value the differences in the way that brains are wired. Because the way your brain is wired, you bring so much to the table. Like, I can learn from this person who isn't judgmental. How does she do it? Let me pick her brain. Let me learn from that.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful. So anything else that you want to share with us about autism and spirituality?
Yeah, I think that covers most about everything. I did want to mention that I am writing a book about these experiences.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't something that my mind wanted to do. It was more one of those energetic, nagging urges that was just pushing me, like, write this book, and that was the same thing that had me get the diagnosis. So I feel like there's, like, some kind of, something driving this that
it's bigger than you.
Yeah, exactly. The book wanted to be written. I'm not anymore attached to the story of my past, of this body. I'm not attached to it anymore. So I kind of get bored, like, actually writing it. But it's very, like, for someone else reading it, it would be, like, extremely, like, whoa, But for me, I'm just like, old news,
Well, what I love about what you've shared about the book is that it connects spirituality and autism.
Yes.
And most sources haven't really, delved into this area yet. So you're a forerunner in this. You're a pioneer going to bring through some information for the community of, people with autism.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was the intuition that I felt as well, was that everything I had read thus far, it didn't really incorporate anything, spiritual.
Yeah.
So, it just felt like, okay, well, that could be useful to some people, and, okay.
I need more.
Yeah. So,
beautiful.
Yeah, and it's going to be called All Labels Aside. And,
Ooh.
Yeah.
You got the title.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So
if people want to, Julie actually provides one-on-one sessions for people. Tell us a little bit about what those sessions could look like and how people can, book one with you.
Sure. So anyone who would like more of this type of spiritual coaching, whether you have a neurological condition or not, is, I can work with anyone, obviously, but I would basically just bring people to that place of presence and practice that with them, so they can actually experience what that feels like, instead of just talking about what it might feel like. Just bringing people into that experience directly.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if anyone does want to contact me, my YouTube channel is called Only This. And on the bottom of each video in the information box, I have all my contact info. But if anyone here wants to email me directly, divineawareness8@gmail.com.
So. Divineawareness8@gmail.com.
Yeah, and the 8 is a numeral, not spelled out. Be specific.
Well, this has been amazing, Julie. And
Thank you.
Those of you who have been with us and who will be watching the replay, I also invite you to think about what we've talked about today in a broader understanding. Maybe it's not about the diagnosis of autism, but maybe you're a super sensitive empath, or maybe you have a different diagnosis, or maybe, you're just trying to figure out what the heck you're doing on this planet. There's so many good things that Julie shared with us that are applicable to what we're all going through. And so I'm so grateful that you said yes to this.
I'm grateful that you invited me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was my knowing that this is needed,
Yeah.
and I said yes. So
Yeah.
thank you.
So please help us get this information out there. Please share this video. Email it to your communities. Share this on Facebook, on YouTube, however you feel guided. We really want to get this movement started for spirituality and autism and how people can understand the crossover
and
the
compassion.
integration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's really, really powerful. So thank you so much, my dear.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for being with us, and I'll see you in the next video. Actually, Monday will be the next video. We're going to be doing Codes of Creation number 3. So join us Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern, and I'll see you in the next video. Much love. Mwah.